Okay. So yesterday we started the proof of lemma 331. So if you take an invertible object in a Briggs fusion category, then this tensor automorphism. So we wrote this way, or this way. This way is more convenient for graphical calculus, but you can think about this way. This is a tensor automorphism of the identity functor. Then it induces a map group homomorphism. And if C is non-degenerate, then it is an isomorphism. Alpha is an isomorphism, this one. This is always an isomorphism, but this may not be an isomorphism. Okay, so according to the paper, the part 1 and 2 are straightforward, but we want to explain a little bit more. So, natural transformation. So remember, by the breeding is admitted naturally by the naturality of the breeding, you can move some f, you can move it here and here. In other words, you can move this f below like that. So that's okay. But if you want to prove the naturality here, this picture may not help. You need to go to this picture and to move this f from there to there by naturality of the breeding, and from there to there by naturality of the breeding. Okay. Then, so it's a natural transformation. Okay. It's an isomorphism because it's a composition of isomorphism, because coev is invertible when X is invertible. And this is an isomorphism, etc. So it's a composition of isomorphism. The last point we want to check is monoidal. So why it is monoidal? Okay. So you start from that. Monoidal. So you first y prime. And you write the tensor like that. And maybe I will write the easier way. You have that. And or maybe no, I will write it. So the hexagon relation here, if you write it with this bad, you will get something like that. So I will write. So you can add something here. But this notation is not very good for understanding. So let's write the usual notation. Even for the proof, it may not be convenient. So you have so y prime, and then co-evaluation of x. I guess it's an x. X here, and then you make the breeding here, and then again the breeding here, and finally you evaluation by that. So we know by hexagon axiom hexagon. Show that you can write this way. So you can split y and y prime. So you have y prime, the coevaluation of x. So you first make here, and then here, and then here. Yeah. You are here, and then identity and evaluation. So this is hexagon action. Now, you apply the zigzag relation here. Here, this is the trick is here. We apply the zigzag relation here. What we want to do is to do something like that. And because x is invertible, we have that equal that. So by zigzag relation first.
So they will separate.
Yeah, zigzag, because it's invertible. Otherwise, of course, it's not true. So you have, so let's write it quickly. So this way for, and this way for that. And then you have something, and here you want to do it. Here, like that. You can do that. Okay. So now you consider this part. So this part, so this is equal to, you have this equal this, since x is invertible. So you get that is equal to something like that. Okay. So you have y prime. Okay. Yeah. So what do you? So it's so here you started from. So this is what? This is equal to alpha x applied. This is alpha x applied to y tensor y prime, and this is alpha x of y tensor alpha x of so, yeah, it's okay. Alpha x of y prime. So alpha x is monoidal. Okay. Wait, yeah. So what we say is that what we want is alpha x to be tensor. We don't say alpha is tensor. We don't say alpha x tensor x prime equal alpha x. We don't say that. We are saying alpha x is monoidal. So this is exactly what we want. Okay. So maybe, but the usual notation is not like that. We are writing like that. Y tensor y prime, and this way. Alpha x y tensor alpha x y. Okay, so it's okay. So maybe we need to check also it's additive, but it should be okay. So it's a tensor automorphism. So the one is okay. One follow. Moreover, one imply two immediately. What is two? So one, now we know that alpha x is a tensor automorphism of the identity functor. And so here we need, now alpha is a group, so maybe it's not so clear. But I guess it's not one implied two immediately. I would say two is similar, maybe, because we need, here I was too quick in my proof. I want to say similarly, we can prove. It's like we need to decompose. Now we start from, so let's say the point 2 can be proved similarly. The point here is that instead of having two branches here and one here, to prove that alpha is a group automorphism, alpha is a group homomorphism. Here we need alpha to be monoidal on X. And X are simple, are invertible, so in fact it will be a group homomorphism. So we will have to check alpha of identity is identity, but that should be, if you put X equal 1, it should be okay, no problem. So we just need to check that it's multiplicative. But as I said, you replace, now you have, instead of having something like that, you have something like that. Wait. Two branch. So you need to decompose. So you have something like that. And then you have double. So you need to apply the hexagon axiom again. And I suspect, in fact, maybe the proof may be even more easier. But yeah, I will leave it as an exercise because I did not prepare. I was wrong to believe that one implied two. But I guess it's similar, so exercise. Check. If it's similar. Okay. So what about the point number 3? This is maybe more complicated. So now, for 3. Okay. So observe, so what is 3? 3 that in the non-degenerate case, alpha is an isomorphism. So, to be an isomorphism, okay. In particular, we need the kernel to be trivial. And and then we will need surjectivity. Yeah. Okay, so let's see first about the kernel is trivial. So observe that X, so a simple pointed invertible lie in the kernel of alpha if and only if X is in the centralizer of C. So why this is true? Let me explain. So X is in the centralizer of C implies that X. So let me explain that first. First implication. So this implication is immediate because since so you have that maybe it's better. I'm not drawing like that. Okay. So we have that, but we know it is in the centralizer. So here, Y, we have Y and X. X is assumed to be in the centralizer of C. In particular, it centralizes Y. So we know that this is equal to like that. X is invertible, so this is 1. So dimension 1. So so it's okay. So you have that alpha X is the identity. So X is in the kernel of alpha. So that's okay. Next, so let me write here. X and Y centralize each other. Okay, now the other implication. So this is, so you start from that, you know, this equal that. So we know alpha X is identity. And we want to show that X centralize Y. So this implies, so you start, okay, so you take Y, X star, so this identity, this is equal to Y like that, because we mentioned that here, because X is invertible. X is invertible, exactly as before. And then this is equal to so you take this here, you replace it like that. So this is equal to something like that. So by, let's say, let's write this equality small star. So if you apply the small star here, it's confusing. Well, it's okay. It's just written just there. So this is like that. And then you can, so you can put this here, but in fact, you can put it here. It is same. So this way. And again, by invertibility, this is equal to what we want. This is equal to, so you can apply again invertibility here. So orange. And again here. You get the following. Like that. So now you can put a straight line here, here. So what you get is like that and like that. So you started from this identity, identity. You get this identity. So it follows that this equals identity, which means that x and y centralize each other. So yx equal this for all y, meaning that x is in the centralizer. Okay. Okay. Now, if C is non-degenerate, then the centralizer of C is VEC is trivial, and so alpha is always injective. The kernel of alpha is always trivial. Thus, under the assumption that C is non-degenerate, C, centralizer of C is equal to VEC. Then here, this is VEC. So, wait. Yeah, if X, observe that, yeah, so only the unit lie here. So only the unit lie here in the kernel. So it's injective. So under the assumption that C is non-degenerate, alpha is injective. Okay, so now remember in section 2, proposition 2, 3, third point, is state that the group of tensor automorphism of the identity functor is the dual of the universal grading group. Okay, so this was done before, where you see it is Universal grading group. So we know that it is we are in a braided fusion category, so the universal grading group is abelian. UC is abelian. Okay, and we have a duality. Okay, so UC is the dual of the dual. Okay. So let me repeat again, but maybe it will. I will not write it, but just orally, as I already say, because it's abelian. In fact, so an abelian group is isomorphic to its dual, so you directly get this is isomorphic to that. But maybe it's more convenient, more natural, or maybe more convenient to not consider this artificial isomorphism. So now you have alpha, which is group homomorphism from that to that. So if you can apply the dual here and here, you get alpha dual from the dual of that to the dual of that. So the dual map alpha dual from UC, which is a dual of maybe right. Maybe let me write this way for clarity. From that to that, from so it was like that from CPT. Yeah. So dual of that to dual of that. Okay, and this is, so as before, this is UC. So you have from UC to that, to home, so dual of the pointed part. So because alpha is injective, its dual map is surjective. Surjective. Since dual of injective is surjective. And this maybe you can put it as an exercise if you like. Okay. So you have a surjective map from the universal grading group to that. It's surjective. So you get a faithful grading by this group. Yeah. Defining faithful grading of the braided fusion category C. by the dual of the pointed part, by the group home. Yeah, so here it's convenient to consider the dual instead of just the artificial isomorphism between available by this dual, because we want to replace injective by surjective. So it's convenient to consider the dual. Okay. Okay. Now, what is the trivial component of this gradient? So from lemma 327, we will see that this grading trivial component is the centralizer of the pointed part, which is the adjoint subcategory by the lemma. So why it is the centralizer of the pointed part? First. So just here is just the lemma 327, saying that in the non-degenerate case, centralizer of the pointed part is the adjoint part. It's the adjoint subcategory. Yeah. Now, why the trivial component is the centralizer of the pointed part? Here, it's the same argument as, say, here. This kind of argument here. Similar to that. So, what is this subcategory, the centralizer of the pointed part? No. What is the trivial component? So the trivial component, let me write this grading trivial component. What is that? So you take so it's generated by simple object y such that alpha x of y is equal to the identity of y for all x in CPT. So what? So is it that? So why this is true? So why? So it's similar to So similarly, as for star, it is generated by y such that. So y, what is similar to that? So what we are considering here, the grading, the trivial component for this grading here. So it's faithful, the group. So this group, so the point here is that we consider for all x. For all x. Here, the difference is for all y. But this does not matter, in fact. The proof, the argument, the picture are the same. You can remove for all y, you can write for all x, and it's the same. You start from that. Here, you pick one x and one y. So, the fact that this here this is the fact that y is the kernel of phi alpha x for all x mean you have this kind of x and y centralize each other here. So x and y centralize each other for all x. Yeah, okay, that's the point. So x and y centralize each other for all x. And this is here, we need to write it is as for alpha. Alpha as for the point star. Okay. So the only thing I may leave as an exercise is generated value. Okay. To see, I will leave this as an exercise. Why the trivial component is generated by that exercise. And then once you have that, we know that this equality hold if only x and y centralize each other. But here it's for all x. So you precisely get x for all x in invertible, so all x here. So y is precisely the centralizer of the pointed part. So in other words, y is in the centralizer of the pointed part. Okay, so maybe I can write if and only if, maybe it's more sense. Okay. Okay, so let me repeat again quickly. So we are interested in the trivial component of this grading by this group. Okay, so this is surjective. Okay. So we need to show as an exercise that the trivial component is exactly generated by the simple object y, which are in the kernel of alpha x for all x. But we know that this means that x and y centralize each other for all x, but x are exactly the element here, so it means that y is in the centralizer of the pointed part. We get that, and then you get that by the previous label. Okay. So let me think 1 second if I can explain why we have that, otherwise I leave it as an exercise. The component. Yeah, it should not. I will leave it as an exercise, but it should not be too complicated. Okay, so maybe it's. So what do we get? Ta ta ta. Yeah, okay. So now we know that the trivial component is that. But this is the trivial component of the universal grading group. Remember that we mentioned before that the trivial component of the universal grading group is that. And so we deduce that in fact this is also injective. But this is by an argument on the Frobenius point dimension, for example. We know that I will explain after the pause. Time for the pause. After the pause, I will explain why it should be injective also. Okay. So we will finish the proof. So it's almost done now. Okay. So as I said, comma here. So the trivial component coincide with the trivial component of the universal grading. So the adjoint subcategory is a trivial component of the universal grading. We know that from proposition 2, 3. Did you find the reference? What time we discussed yesterday?
Google.
Yeah. So did you look for?
No. I will go
later. Okay. There is 2 points to check. Again, separable assumption in the definition of unitary Frobenius algebra, and also regarding the Chamin.
Yeah, Chamin paper contains this one.
Yeah. I mean, what if we can cite this and also cite maybe another more recent paper or generalization. Okay, so the trivial component of the universal unit. Therefore, so the trivial component of this grading is the same as the universal grading. So this grading is a universal grading. Therefore, therefore, this, but let me write first. Therefore, this faithful grading must be the universal grading so that this is an isomorphism. Is an isomorphism. And so is alpha. If the dual is an isomorphism, then the alpha itself is an isomorphism. And why? So I guess it's enough like that, but if you want to make sure that to have the same the same trivial components imply the same grading. I guess the grading is completely determined by the trivial component. this is faithful. Let me write that faithful grading are completely determined by trivial component. Faithful grading. So let me forgot something. We had a theorem. We prove a theorem in the before regarding that. Where is it? Yeah. Corollary to 6. Corollary to 6. Let me come back to corollary 2.6. Alors, corollary to 6. Corollary to 5. There is a one-to-one correspondence between fusion subcategory containing C-add and subgroup given by corollary to 6. There is a one-to-one correspondence between equivalent class of faithful grading of C and fusion subcategory D containing C add, such that yeah. So maybe corollary to 6, but maybe it's not required. Anyway. Okay, so now, this completes the proof. No. The therefore is trivial because by universality, you know that any grading, there is I guess it's enough just by universality and faithful, by faithfulness and universality. You don't need to say that. Just by faithfulness plus universality property of the universal grading group. Okay. So remember that faithfulness implies that every component of the grading are the same size. And the universality, you mean you can recover every grading by the universal grading group. So if it has the same trivial component, it should be the same grading. Okay, so I hope now the explanation is clear. Okay. Okay, so what next? Now we will talk about the pairing, because it was named the title of the section, the useful pairing. So what is this pairing? Okay. So remember from the model of the the group of tensor automorphism of the identity functor as the dual of the universal building group in proposition 2, 3 is provided and a canonical isomorphism. We provide a canonical isomorphism between this and this. From you see that. So using that, so you can reformulate the alpha as a pairing. So alpha, in some sense, is this allowing us to interpret the map alpha from that to that as the automorphism of a pairing. So you map that map to that, which is isomorphic to that, and that you take something here and you get a constant. So you take this one, and you get a constant. This one provides an element here, and you get also this one, you get a constant. So you have a pairing between that and that. You get the pairing. Map la alpha as a pairing. This group and this group to this group. This is called equation 47. And so the third point of the previous lemma which is if C is non-degenerate, then alpha is an isomorphism. This first point implies that this pairing is, so in the paper they wrote perfect, but I'm not sure it is a usual name for a pairing. In fact, it means non-degenerate, or it means alpha is isomorphism. The automorphism associated, the isomorphism associated to the pairing. So it's non-degenerate. This pairing is non-degenerate when C is non-degenerate. Okay. So now, the next subsection will discuss a more general pairing. So here, we will consider a more general pairing for two fusion subcategories which projectively centralize each other. So, in the previous subsection, the two fusion subcategories are the pointed part and the full subcategory itself, so CPT and C. Okay. So CPT and C projectively centralize each other. Anyway, so you have this pairing for these two, this example of two fusion subcategory, a couple of fusion subcategory with projectively centralize each other. You get this pairing but you can define a more general pairing between any couple of fusion subcategory which projectively centralize each other. So this is the point of this proposition. So let me check something. So 32032. Um, 332. Tac. Yeah, it's written like that. Okay. Okay. Okay, so proposition. Proposition 332. You take a pair of fusion subcategory which projectively centralize each other. Let D1, D2 be fusion subcategory. That projectively centralize each other. Then there exists a faithful grading of D1 and D2, where the trivial component is the intersection of D1 with the centralizer of D2 for the first, and the intersection of D2 with the centralizer of D1 for the other. So there exists faithful gradings. Let's say I equal 1, 2, di equal direct sum of G in Gi, dig with trivial component here. The trivial component is the intersection of di with the centralizer of dg, I different from G. Okay. And these grading are unique up to equivalence. Such grading, so here I put singular because I take I as a variable. This grading is unique up to equivalence. For every I, the grading is unique up to equivalence. And then, second point. You get a pairing. There exists a unique pairing B from G1 cross G2 to that, such that for all simple object, for all objects in this component, if G is in Gi, we have that the double breeding x2, x1. So remember that they projectively centralize each other. So this is the constant times the identity. In fact, this constant is given by the pairing. Okay. Okay. And this pairing, moreover, this pairing is non-degenerate. Degenerate. Wait. Here I have a doubt. Oh, okay. Non-degenerate. Okay. So this pairing is so in the previous case, we need to assume. So I will explain. So this pairing is non-degenerate in general. In the previous lemma, it was non-degenerate if only if the full Brady student category is non-degenerate. But here, to recover the previous case, we need to take category non-degenerate and D1 equals CPT and D2 equals C. But in general, if they projectively centralize each other, it works. So this pairing is non-degenerate. And in particular, G1 is isomorphic to G2. So it will be more canonical to say G1 is the dual of G2, but they are abelian, so they are, because you have this pairing. Yeah. Okay. That should be okay. Finally, if D1 equals D2, then the pairing is symmetric. Okay. So now the note regarding the previous subsection. When C is non-degenerate, and D1, D2 equal CPTC, then the pairing B coincide with the one in the previous subsection. So, exercise. So, show that CPT and C projectively centralize each other. So maybe we already with C non-degenerate. Maybe we already mentioned that. I forgot. But for this node to make sense, we need that D1 and D2 to projectively centralize each other. In particular, CPT and C should projectively centralize each other. So exercise. Okay. Okay, and so in the previous case, so you have the group, the grading group. Yeah. So you have two groups, G1, G2. So you should consider, okay. So the trivial component. So what is D1 intersection? So then D1 intersection D2 prime equal CPT intersection the centralizer of C, which is vec, so which is equal to vec. And D2 intersection centralizer of 1 is C intersection CPT, which is C add. Okay. So in this case, here the grading is the discrete grading, and I guess so which one? No, this one. Wait, D1 intersection D2 correspond to this one. D1 intersection D2 here. So here you get the grading, which is trivial. So one component for one object. And here you get the universal grading group. Okay. So proof. So proof. So the proof will be like a previous proof. It will be a little rushed. So that I will write some exercise inside. Okay. So the uniqueness. Remember, you have several uniqueness. You have several uniqueness statements. Uniqueness statement in part 1. So what is uniqueness? Here, the grading is unique. So assume we will first prove the uniqueness. So and next we will prove that. So if that is already proved, then why the uniqueness will show why the uniqueness hold. Follow directly from corollary 2.6. And then I just recall before. Follow directly from corollary 2.6. And here I want to just to recall what was. So it was a one-to-one correspondence. One-to-one correspondence between equivalence classes of faithful grading. So I write in terms of so we are interested in application to DI and fusion subcategory be included in DI containing the adjoint subcategory of DI such that the group G index B is a normal subgroup of universal grading group of DI. And I did not recall what is GB, but it was a kind of universal grading group under this assumption. Something like that. So this for the definition, C before corollary 2.6 for its definition. Okay. And so the exercise, what we need to show, exercise need so that so D, the adjoint subcategory of DI is included in the what we need to show that. Wait. Equals class. Oh. Containing. So fusion subcategory B containing that. So we need. So the B we are interested in is okay. Is this one. So we need to show that the I intersection DJ centralized when I is different from G. So which means that we need to show that the adjoint subcategory of DI is included in the centralizer of G because it's already included in DI. And for that, I wrote apply proposition 322. So what was proposition 320? Yeah. The fact that X centralized Y tensor Y star if only if X tensor X star centralized X if only if X and Y are projectively centralized each other. Okay. So maybe. And you, the second point is to show that this DI intersection DJ centralizer is a normal subgroup of the universal grading group of I. So normal. So you only need to show subgroup since we are in abelian case. This all is abelian. So any subgroup is a normal subgroup. Okay. Okay. So we have the uniqueness up to this exercise. Then the uniqueness for the point number 2. I want to say, so this pairing is on the right. Where is the uniqueness? There exists a unique pairing such that we have that. Okay, so you know that the projectively centralize each other. So there is a constant here. So this constant is uniquely determined. So the uniqueness, yeah, it's immediate because this is uniquely determined. So it's okay. So the uniqueness, in part 2 is immediate. Okay. The symmetry. If D1 equals D2, B is symmetric. And the symmetry, in fact, is immediate by the uniqueness, because you have the unique pairing like that. If D1 equals D2, then you can switch the index I1 and 2, and it should be the same because it's unique. So it's symmetric. The symmetry so when D1 equals D2 is a consequence of uniqueness. Okay, now we need to show the hard part, so the existence statement. We now turn to proving the existence statement. So existence, so first prove the existence of faithful grading with this real component, and then there exists a unique pairing. Okay, so the existence, the fact that this constant can be given by a pairing like that. So it only depends on the index of the component where you have x and y. Okay, so statement. So consider consider the universal grading. Di from the simple object of di to the universal grading group of di as introduced in section 2. Subsection 2.3. So by lemma 315 first point, which is y d lambda z in d. So here d is di, but lambda and u are number, not index I. Right answer z is in d lambda mu. Then there exists so exercise. There exists the unique pairing B tilde, the universal grading group of D1 plus the universal grading group of D2 to that, such that so the double grading x2, x1 compose x1, x2 is, so the constant of the double braiding, because they are projectile centralized each other, this constant, in fact, is completely determined by the component of the universal grading group of x1 and x2. So we need to show that. Okay. So you need to use this statement. And now we will see that so the fact that it reduced to the index of the universal reading group, we will quotient the universal reading group by the kernel, and you will get non-degenerate, after quotient you get non-degenerate grading, and this quotient will be the group G1 and G2. And so because we can quotient the pairing is invariant by quotienting by the kernel, the left and right kernel, because okay, so what time is it? We have 3 minutes, 4 minutes. For all, so for all simple object, xi in the I. Okay. So now let ki be a subgroup of the universal reading group, I equal 1, 2. So let ki be the left for I equal 1 and the right for I equal 2 kernel of the pairing B tilde. So left kernel means when so you fix, so an element is in the left kernel here. If for all this here, it is trivial. And so for the right kernel, you have the same. So, and then you quotient respectively. Okay. So define Gi to be the universal grading group divided quotiented by this kernel. And then again exercise. This is immediate, I guess. B tilde descend to a non-degenerate pairing B from G1 cross G2 to the non-invertible scalar. And last exercise. Is that DI is graded by GI. Okay. This is the last exercise. Okay, and 1 minute of time. So I have no time to finish, but I will finish next week. So let me just read. So we will finish the proof next week. That remember only one line, so maybe I will take 1 minute more to finish the proof. So the trivial component of the GI grading of the of DI consists, this is another exercise, consists of the simple object of DI that centralize every object of DG. Centralize every object of DG. And this is another exercise. exercise. Fine. It implies that, hence, it equal the intersection. Because it is in DI, because it is the trivial component of DI, and it is a centralizer of DJ, so this is exactly the intersection, like that. So this proof is rushed. So up to these 3 exercises, you get 4 exercises, also this one. You get a complete proof in 5, because you have also this one. A complete proof of this result. Proposition 322, the more general claim. So that's all for so I will stop here. I'll just write that. I will stop here. Next time we will start the section 3.4, which is a proof of the theorem 3.4. So remember, there are 2 theorems we stated before, but without proof, and we said it will be proved later. And we will prove the first theorem for the theorem 3.4. We will prove in this section. Okay, so let me stop here.